Variables in Swift are declared with a var statement. If we write var car equals Ford Fiesta, then a variable of name car is created and it is assigned the value for Fiesta. Variables can be a different type, specialized to hold different type of content. The example we just saw was a string, meaning a sequence of characters. But if we wrote var car equals 123, the variable car will hold an integer, therefore its type will be integer. A big difference between Swift and Objective-C and many other languages is that Swift doesn't need to define the type of a variable at the moment of its declaration. The type is automatically inferred when a value is assigned to the variable. This makes things a lot simpler. Of course, it is still possible to define the type of a variable when it's declared, and it's not compulsory to initialize the value of a variable when it's declared. It's also possible to define more variables on a single line by separating them with commas. Here are some of the most common variable types supported by Swift: string, integer number, floating point number, boolean, and other types that we'll see later in this course. Values of variables can be changed with the equal operator. If you want to change the value of the car variable, it's enough to write car equal Renault Clio. Once a variable's type has been defined, it's not possible to assign other types to it. For example, if I try to assign to the variable car I created before the value 345, I get an error condition because 345 is supposed to be an integer and car has been defined to be a string. The let keyword is used to define constants. Constants are very similar to variables, but, as their name says, once initialized they can't be changed anymore. You can think of them as type variables, but if we try to modify their values, we get an error condition. Swift makes extensive use of constants to make code safer and more clear to read when there's the need for values that don't need to change. Alright, it's demo time in our playground. So let's do what we saw before in the slides. Let's create a var named car, which has a value Ford Fiesta. And now I have a var variable car of type string with a value Ford Fiesta. If I want to change the value of this variable, it's just enough to write car equals Renault Clio, and I'm set. Of course, car has been defined as type string by inference, so if I try to assign to car an integer value like 104.23, I get an error condition. I can declare variables without assigning their values, without initializing them. Let's say var bike colon string. I just declared a variable bike of type string without assigning any value to it. And if I want to assign a value to this variable, just write bike equals Cannondale. There we go. We say that constants are very similar to variables, but once initialized, their value cannot be changed anymore. So let's create a constant of name boat equals sailboat. This constant has been initialized with the value sailboat and has the type string. The difference between a variable is that if I try to change its value, let's say boat equals motorboat, I get an error condition. Cannot assign to let value boat, meaning I cannot change its value. It's a constant.